Hi, everyone. This is Liz Tran, the Community Relations Specialist at Quasi. Welcoming you to this special cyber seminar with the AGU Hydrology Section Student Subcommittee. We're very excited to be partnering with them for this. I'm going to hand it off to Kaylyn Gootman, who will introduce you and present this cyber seminar.
Thanks so much, Liz. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for joining in from multiple time zones on our call. We're here today as H3S in collaboration with Quasi to talk about navigating the AGU Fall Meeting as a student or early career Hydrology Section member. So the outline for this presentation is going to be as follows. We're going to cover the webinar goals, start with an orientation to AGU, talk about how we work with communicating different ideas, go over some past, present, and future H3S activities, and end with a short wrap-up. So each portion of this webinar will be loosely structured as follows. I'm going to be presenting some information. We'll have time for the audience to provide questions via the chat box throughout the entire talk. And after each of these main sections, we'll have some time for some discussion where other members of the H3S group can provide answers. And we also have some questions for the group. So we hope that this structure of information and Q&A is something where everyone can get involved and be a part of the discussion. So to start, I'm going to talk about the webinar goals. And so the whole point of working with Quasi on this webinar and starting this collaboration was we were trying to think as H3S members, how can we communicate current and upcoming H3S events at this year's fall meeting? We also really want to get audience questions about H3S in general and the fall meeting. And we want to get feedback on how we're doing and ways to improve communication with our membership, especially student and early career hydrology section members. And a big thank you goes out to the team at Quasi for supporting and helping organize this webinar. We certainly could not be doing this without them. And so now our first section, just to orient everyone to AGU. So to start, AGU has a set mission. The purpose of the American Geophysical Union is to promote discovery in Earth and space science for the benefit of humanity. And along with this mission is AGU's vision to galvanize a community of Earth and space scientists that collaboratively advance and communicate science and its power to ensure a sustainable future. And I think those things are good, and oftentimes as students or maybe even early career members kind of get lost in the shuffle of AGU being such a big group and such a large meeting, that at its core are a clear set of missions and goals. And it's important to remember in the hustle and bustle of the big meeting. And I thought that it would be pertinent to kind of go over this organizational chart. Since AGU is such a big group, the main driving force of AGU actually is its membership, which includes hydrology, biogeochemistry, and a whole host of other committees and sections. And within AGU, there's the Strategic Planning and Resources Group that are driven by a board, the council, the staff, and a number of committees. And these are all connected and work together with the president, president-elect, and CEO. And within AGU, in addition to the mission and vision, there are different spheres of influence and things where people are focused on different aspects of the mission, including scientific leadership and collaboration, and science and society, developing a talent pool, and also one of the goals is maintaining organizational excellence. So I'm not going to go into all of these details, but it's just really important to keep in mind how AGU is organized and structured. So within AGU, each member, which there are about 60,000 members, belongs to a unique AGU section or sections. There are 25 different sections, each based on themes such as biogeochemistry, education, hydrology. And these individual sections are responsible for fostering scientific discussion and collaboration. And the president and president-elect from each section serve 2-year terms on the AGU Council, which was that green sphere or cog in the previous 2 slides. Now within the hydrology section, our current president is Jeffrey McDonald, and our president-elect is Scott W. Tyler. approximately 7,000 AGU members list their primary affiliation with the Hydrology Section, which is quite significant. The Hydrology Section has 12 technical committees and 11 standing committees, whose purpose is to promote the aims and activities of the American Geophysical Union within the field of hydrology and water resources. Now, within the Hydrology Section, we have H3S, or the Hydrology Section Student Subcommittee. Our mission is as follows. H3S is dedicated to a number of ideas and issues within the geosciences complementary to those highlighted by the larger hydrology section. We strive to provide student members with opportunities for professional development, as well as social interaction and networking within the broader geosciences community, which we achieve by organizing activities at the AGU Fall Meetings and online. So within H3S, we have a committee of students. There's 11 of us who are elected by members from the previous year's subcommittee through an online application process. So keep a lookout for that if you're interested in getting involved, if you think you might want to serve on H3S for the next calendar year. That application process will be opening up later on this year. Each member of H3S serves a minimum of 1 calendar year, so January to January, and up to 2 years of service. We hold meetings once a month that are led by our committee chair. Our committee chair is the spokesperson for our group and has veto/tiebreaker rights over group decisions. The committee co-chair is the first substitute in case of the chair's absence, and this person assumes leadership as the chair the following year. So within H3S, we currently have 11 members, including Megan Brown, who's our co-chair, Megan Brown, who is our chair, Caitlin Hall, who is our co-chair, Anna Hermes, Fred Chang, Harsh Beria, myself, Meredith Richardson, Antonio Prazzoli, China Yan, Sina Katami, and Benit Senegal. And all 11 of us are from different universities throughout the world. So it's really a great way to have international collaboration with other young hydrologists and scientists. And so now I'm going to open the floor to Q&A. So I'd like to take any questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, please type them out in the chat box in your GoToWebinar. Well, if there aren't any questions from the audience, we've got a question for you. So now that you know more about how AGU is structured and hydrology section fits within that and H3S, we were curious as a group, how do you think H3S would better serve students within the AGU communities and beyond? So if you have any ideas, please type them in the chat box and we'd be happy to start a short discussion and maybe get some feedback as to how we can better serve our student and early career members. Okay, it looks like we're getting some questions in here. So I'm going to start with the first one. So can any international students apply for membership? If that's in terms of H3S, definitely that is one of our goals, is to have a larger presence. And anyone else on the H3S committee, feel free to chime in. Okay, and so the second question of when will the process be open each year? The process to join H3S and apply will open up after the fall meeting, so it will be early January. And Megan, please correct me if that's not right.
Sorry, I had to get my mic to turn on. Yeah, we usually end up posting it online somewhere right after the fall meeting, and then we try to have a due date of early to mid-January, and then decisions are made by the end of January.
Right. And we have a question, is H3S only for current students? Megan, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Can you say that again? Which one?
Oh, sure. I guess the question is H3S only for current students?
So traditionally, we have only had students. We could think about opening it to early career, but it is a student subcommittee, so it does tend to be students either, I think so far it's only been graduate students, but we think we're all open to undergrads as well, but it does tend to just be students.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like another question we got was support for international student members. I think anyway that is something that we should aim to increase support in any way we can. So we certainly are open to any and all suggestions. And the next question looks like about finding out when the application's open. Yes, definitely check out the AGU website and be sure that you're following H3S on Twitter because we'll make our announcements there as well. Okay, the next question, what are the criteria to apply? You got to be a student member of the Hydrology Section to apply. But like Megan said, we are typically represented by graduate students. But if you're interested and you want to get involved as an early career member, that's certainly something we can consider. And the next question is asking, will we have H3S meetings during AGU and on which days? Throughout the fall meeting, we are going to have a series of events, and also some of those you can actually submit an abstract to be a part of for free that we'll talk about later in this webinar. We typically as a group have a meeting where we invite any interested folks to come, and that will be announced once we narrow that down on which day and where. And you'll see us at the meeting. Last year, everybody that was an H3S member wore a button to kind of signify on their badge, like, hey, ask me about H3S. So that will be something that we can also try and be more visible to answer questions.
I'd also urge everyone to come to the Hydrology Section business meeting, which is on Tuesday night. I think there's a small registration fee. I think students it's like $5 or $10, and you would sign up when you register for the meeting. And that's a place where typically all the H3S members are there that night, and we mingle, and it's a great networking opportunity as well.
Yeah, that is something that is a really great place or a way to meet not only student members, but early career and also network if you're thinking about research collaborations and possibly going out in the job market in the near future. Okay, so I think that about puts us at the time for our first part of this webinar. But if you have questions still related to AGU structure, H3S, Hydrology Section, you can definitely ask those later on. But for right now, we're going to move on to the next, I guess quickly asking if there's any funding support for international students to attend the AGU Fall Meeting. My advice there would be to check out the AGU website. They usually have grants that you can apply for to support your funding or travel to get to the meeting. Oftentimes, depending on the country you come from, you might get a reduced registration rate. In some cases, it might be free. So I would definitely recommend checking out the AGU website and maybe even getting in touch with somebody on their funding team. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next section of our webinar, which is detailing communication. So as H3S, we really aim to communicate with our membership, with the hydrology students, and early career members. The main ways that we do this are through Twitter. So if you haven't already, please find us at AGU_H3S. Follow us. This is the most up-to-date way to keep in touch with our group and the activities we're doing. It's also a great way you can tweet us or direct message us with questions. And this is really a way for us to be active and keep in touch. Additionally, we have a Tumblr page. So AGU has a Tumblr, and we do tend to have posts there, and as a way to communicate different information. This past year, there was a feature on different scientists and their research within the AGU community. A number of our subcommittee members actually were featured on that Tumblr, so check it out. It's really interesting to see what people are doing. Also, there's a Facebook group for graduate opportunities in hydrology and climate change. That's another way to communicate with us. If you don't read these emails already, they're worth checking out from the Hydrology section, especially the one with the fall newsletter. This is where actually H3S has a couple pages to explain our activities and what we did in the previous year, talk about activities during the year and coming up at the fall meeting. So it's a great way to get information about what's coming up. And this webinar is something new that we're trying. So I hope that, or we all hope that this is something useful and a way to, get in touch, get information out, and also get feedback. So within our communication with the hydrology section, this role mainly falls on our chair, so Megan Brown. Megan attends the hydrology section meetings at AGU. She also provides updates to the section as a whole via the newsletter. And our chair is the point of contact or liaison between AGU, the hydrology section leadership, in addition to students and early career scientists. And so our chair also has a large role to play in communicating with AGU. Our chair works with the student and career program manager, Eric Henkin, who is certainly somebody that if you're a student and you want to know, say, about international travel support, it's worth emailing or getting in touch with Eric because he can get you to the right people as well. So we work with Eric to organize student and early career events, and the chair also works with AGU staff to organize events for students and early career scientists, along with assisting in other hydrology section events. At H3S, as a group, we also try to work with and collaborate and communicate with other student groups. So for example, this year, 2 of our H3S members are helping plan and coordinate the 5th annual Student and Early Career Scientist Conference. You can purchase tickets for this conference when you're registering for the fall meeting. This is not just a hydrology conference. It's open to all students and early career scientists. From a personal note, I've been to that conference the past 2 meetings. It's nice because you get to come the day early, kind of get used to the area where the meeting's going to be, start to meet new people, network outside of just the hydrology section. And this year's theme is building bridges for climate for change, science communication from peers to policymakers. And additionally, we also try and work with other student groups, including the Young Hydrologic Society. 2 of our H3S members actually serve on the board of YHS. And if you check out their website, there's lots of different ways to get involved with YHS and other student groups, in addition to H3S as well, and being a student member of the hydrology section. And so, while that's a lot briefer, I'm going to open up the floor for more questions. So please ask your questions if you have any about any of the material we've covered so far. The name question is, what was the name of the student conference again? The student conference is the Student and Early Career Scientist Conference. So that you can definitely find out information on the AGU website, information about where and when, And also there's information about purchasing tickets. And this year, the theme for this conference is building bridges for change, scientific communication from peers to policymakers. So it should be a really interesting, awesome conference. And it sounds to me like the theme about communication with peers and policymakers is going to be really, really well served, because this year's fall meeting is in Washington, D.C., where there's a lot of policy making happening. So this is going to be a really unique experience and a really, really great opportunity. And so next question, AGU is pretty overwhelming. How can H3S help newer members navigate the chaos? This is a great question, and I'm really glad that this was asked. AGU is a huge meeting. There's a huge membership. So we hope, as members of H3S, that by having these events throughout the week, we'll be wearing badges to show that we're actually members of the H3S, that we can actually be an in-person resource to help you during the meeting if you have questions. In terms of getting prepared ahead of time to navigate the chaos, if you have any specific questions, I would say message us on Twitter. Additionally, if you're a newer person to going to this meeting, I think some of us in H3S have talked about this before, and one of our goals in the previous year was to try and provide a forum on Twitter in the past year to have people ask questions about the meeting specifically to try and alleviate some of this chaos. I think this webinar platform hopefully is a better way to go with that. Some advice, I think, and other H3S members, please chime in. It does help to take a look at the program before you go and kind of see, okay, what are the events I want to go to, and realizing that, yes, this is a great opportunity, but there's no way to possibly go to everything. So you've got to be selective about what you choose. And if anyone else wants to chime in, I don't know if I'm able to provide any other good answers here.
I would say one of the biggest things is you don't have to fill every moment of every day. I know my first meeting, I probably did like 12-hour days, all 5 days, and it was, you burn out. So, choose, like Kaylyn was saying, what you actually want to go and see or do, but don't feel bad if you don't use all the time of the entire week.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and realizing that you are a person and self-care is really important during this meeting. I mean, taking time out of the day to take a nap or sit down, take a break, get a coffee, or get away from the meeting even for a little bit. I mean, you're going to be in Washington, D.C. There's plenty of things to see and do. So having things that are separate from the meeting where you can just relax, it's really important. I know I felt pressured my first year to see everything, and it just, the middle of the week, I was exhausted. Another thing that I learned from my advisor this past year was, if you can, bring a change of shoes. It's a lot of walking, and sometimes your feet need a break. And Kaylyn, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was also going to say it's helpful if you're going with somebody, or if you meet somebody during the conference that's a AGU veteran, because I know that really enhanced my first year doing this. It is incredibly overwhelming, but luckily I found somebody actually in H3S and YHS that showed me the ropes, and just following them was helpful because they were able to introduce me to new people, and that really lines a path.
Yeah, and I think if you keep an eye out on the student activities, especially in the beginning of the week, the Student and Early Career Scientist Conference is a great way to start to meet people and ask questions in person about the meeting, and tips on, okay, how do you combat the chaos? I know there will be a few events I'm in the early part of the week. There'll be some student mixers, not just for hydrology, but other sections. And if you can plan to go to at least one of those or a part of that, it's a way to just, hear from other people that may have been to the meeting like this. So the next question is, what is the best mindset of AGU to learn about advances in science or to make connections? What do you recommend? For me, from personal experience, so my mindset for AGU, I mean, it's certainly something that's always in flux. I think having an open mind, and yes, while you do want to learn about science in your field and other fields, it's also important to make connections. And so I think for me, the way that I'm going to try and approach the meeting this year is just to enjoy it, to have fun, but realize that I can't do it all. I can't get to every talk, and enjoying and really being present for what I can make it to and the people I can meet, just to have the most enjoyable meeting possible, because it is, it's the end of the year. You've worked really hard all year. You're meeting new scientists, you're learning new things, and you're sharing information and making new communications and connections. So I think approaching it with a positive attitude is really helpful from the beginning. And I can't stress enough, I need to do this year well in advance, but the program will be up for the whole meeting pretty soon in terms of talks and, keynote and plenary talks and things like that. So not to spend a lot of time on it, but it helps to have a sense of what's coming up, who's speaking, just so you can try and say, okay, I know I want to target this. If I don't get to this other thing, it's okay. And so a question that H3S had for the audience is, we want to know more about how you get your information about fall meeting events, or we don't really know what's effective. Like, what are your preferred ways to get information about events at the fall meeting? So please feel free to chime in on that, on what you prefer or how you prefer to get your information. Okay, so one answer we got is email. Okay, great. Well, people also like Twitter and information on the AGU website. Okay, this is all really good to hear. And email again. Okay, I know for me, sometimes I just kind of glaze over some emails, but I'm glad that, okay, Facebook's nice too. We have to make sure we're on board with that. Oh, good. Somebody is happy with the webinar. Great. Yeah, email can be really overwhelming. So if this webinar is effective, then we can keep this in mind and hopefully do something like this next year. Okay, to follow a single Twitter feed to get the information. That's a really good idea. Throughout the meeting, the H3S Twitter, our account, we will try and tweet about what's coming up or what's happening. We will definitely be promoting our events. We'll try and make sure we retweet other events that might be of interest to hydrology students and early career members, so that we will try and make sure to maintain during the meeting. Another something I just thought of with some of the meeting chaos, AGU will release an app for smartphones or your computer where you can kind of make a schedule or look at talks, look at the speaker schedules. So that's something that might be worth downloading and checking out and navigating before you go to the meeting. Okay, and somebody's got information from the EOS buzz. Okay, so that's good to know and note. But yeah, we will try and have more live updates via Twitter. And the next question, will we be sharing the slides after the webinar? Yes, these slides and actually the webinar as a whole will be archived on the Kawazi website. So they'll definitely be archived and available for you to look back on and check out at a later date. All right, well, if there are no other communication related questions, I'm gonna move on to the last section of our webinar, and we will have time for Q&A related to that section as well, and also any other questions or concerns that the audience has. All right, so this last section, wanted to talk about the past, present, and future activities that H3S is putting on. So throughout the year, we have done a few different activities. I think we will be implementing a haiku research promotion on Twitter, where we're going to ask everyone who follows us to come up with a haiku or just a simple poem based on the number of syllables about your research. And if my group is on board, it might even have a contest for our favorite haikus about your research. There's also the Student and Early Career Scientist Profile Series on AGU's Tumblr they should check out. This webinar is also another activity that we're putting on, and if we get, it looks like we are getting so far positive feedback, this might be something we'll be able to keep up with next year. And also during the year, we are going to be taking over the AGU Instagram account next month, so October 22nd through 26th. So if you have Instagram, make sure you're following AGU, and you'll be able to see our Instagram takeover. In past years at the fall meeting, we've had a lot of different activities, workshops, and trainings. Just to go over a few, last year at the fall meeting, we had a workshop on name pronunciation and pronoun usage. We also had activities for different career tracks, including, going to academia, also building non-academic partnerships, so working with industry, government, NGOs. We also had workshops about publication, and in years past, there's also been service activities as well, which is something we're always trying to think of creative ways to integrate service for hydrology students and early career scientist members. So this year, this is a lot of information, but just going to walk through what we have planned for this year's fall meeting. So in terms of workshops, we've got two. One is titled Outsmart Your Research with Contemporary Technology. And our second workshop is to meet the experts looking at spatial scales and hydrologic modeling. We also have a town hall event with a panel that you can get feedback from or ask questions about alternative careers. I can do research there. So this is a town hall where you can come hear people that have different careers than your typical R1 academic research track, and maybe get some more information that you might not have had about what to do next. And a big set of activities this year is about this event called pop-ups. So these are just the few different pop-ups title, and I'm going to talk more about those in a moment. So the pop-up talks that you can apply for submitting an abstract, which is free, include topics such as big ideas for the next 100 years, being that this is about to be the centennial or 100-year anniversary of AGU. Second pop-up topic is bridging science and policy for change, best practices. Third is hydrology for public good, best practices and lessons learned from engagement. Another one is frontiers in hydrology. And the last one is building communities through shared experiences. So each of these pop-ups that you can submit an abstract for free to, you can find a lot more information on our website about each of these and kind of the talks we're looking for. And pop-ups are just these short few-minute talks, and abstract submission is open now and will be open until October 21st. Abstracts do not have a fee and do not count against your abstract allotment. And this is a great way to practice sharing your research. And the link to pop-up talks is provided here. And I just remembered or realized I got a note from Megan, so thank you. We have another town hall about research in action in Washington, D.C. So that's another town hall that's going to really take advantage of the location this year. So if I go back a slide, we have 2 town halls, one about alternative careers and the second about research in action in Washington, D.C. And so back to the pop-ups. We really hope this takes off this year. I think we've got some great topics and everybody can fit into one of them. So please submit an abstract. It's a great way to share your research, practice communicating, and just to interact with other scientists and get feedback about what you're working on. And so now I'm gonna bring up the next Q&A session. So if you have any specific questions about any of our activities, you'd like more information or anything else, we can answer those. And so a question that H3S members had for the group, we're curious about what kinds of activities would you like to see throughout the year at future fall meetings from H3S? And so before we answer that, we have a question. How can we register for the workshops? If we are registered for AGU, could we just attend the workshops without registration? I'm going to turn that over to my colleagues, Megan or Kaylyn, if you guys want to answer.
I can answer that. The workshops are free and there's no registration required. You can just look, it'll be probably listed with the other career workshops that are through AGU, that AGU themselves organize. The town halls are the same. The town halls tend to be either at lunch or right after the afternoon oral sessions. So many times we are able to provide a little bit of food at least, sometimes full lunches. So that's something to look into. And then the pop-ups are also free, and they are going to be this year Monday through Thursday between 4 and 6 p.m. And that's also kind of the beer time for poster session. And it'll be in what usually is the student lounge, but has now been kind of transitioned to anyone can use it, is what I hear this year. And so we'll have a stage set up, and these will be short oral sessions like Kaylyn said.
And for the pop-ups, these are the only ones that you need to submit an abstract in advance. Everything's free, but with the pop-ups, we need to be able to make sure we have enough people submitting abstracts. We can select the number of folks we need to present for each of those.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say. But then also for the Early Career Scientist Conference, just to reiterate that that is a small fee. So while there are a lot of workshops and things like that, it is separate from the actual AGU meeting.
Yeah, and you have to register for the Student Early Career Scientist Conference when you register for the fall meeting. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kaylyn, but that is from 8 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, December 9th. There's coffee provided throughout the day, and there's also lunch included.
Correct.
Okay, so the next question, I'm going to come back to interacting because this more recent one kind of falls in line. So the question is, are we able to check the schedule of the workshops and town halls using the AGU app? Megan, I think they'll be on there, right? Because we're going to be on the main schedule.
The town halls definitely are, and I believe I'm like 95% sure the workshops are as well.
Great, and we will make sure to last year we put together a small list of all of our activities, workshops, town halls, pop-up times on like a half a sheet of paper. So to be green, we're going to basically make a small schedule that will be digital. It will be posted on Twitter, maybe one of those pinned tweets, so that you can have a quick way to see, oh, I think there's a pop-up this afternoon. I want to go see which topic is it going to be, or when are those town halls again, or when and where are those workshops? So that way, you know, if you know they're there, but you'll have a quick way to check and see exactly when and where without having to necessarily go through the app. Okay, so the other question before that was, what is the best way to interact with the H3S organizing committee members? And yeah, committee, please feel free to chime in. Definitely follow us on Twitter. You can always tweet at us or direct message us. That's probably the most efficient way. Any other ideas from the other organizers? So I think, yeah, Twitter is probably the best way. Definitely at the meeting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have buttons that tell, let's say something like ask me about H3S. So please don't hesitate to introduce yourself, and that's in person, of course. But I think, do we have an okay, we will have buttons. Excellent. In terms of other ways to interact, any other ideas?
This is Megan.
Oh, go ahead, Megan.
I'm open to taking email too. I'm at the University of Colorado in the Geological Sciences department, and so my email is on the website. It's megan.r.brown@colorado.edu. So I'm always open to taking email. It might take me, you know, a day or two to get back to people, but if you would like to email me directly, that's fine.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. And I'm also open as well. I'm at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So my email address is kaylyn@live.unc.edu. If you need to get in touch, Twitter also is great as well. So you can find us on Twitter as individuals as well. And if anyone in the audience has ideas for other kinds of activities you'd like to see during the year or at fall meetings, this is a great time to share those. Also, feel free to think about that. And we will have a meeting that we will announce, so we can have a set time for meet and greet. And if people have questions about how to get involved with H3S or want to share ideas for activities, we'll have a time event soon for where and when at the fall meeting we'll be holding that group meeting in person. But yeah, if you've got ideas, please feel free to share them now. All right, well, it seems that at least we answered a few questions and had a little bit of discussion. So now I'm going to move to the wrap up here. H3S, we really want to thank Kwasi for organizing and hosting our webinar. This would not have happened without them and without this collaboration work together. So we're really grateful to Liz and Ainsley and the team at Kwasi for helping us get this going. And a big thank you goes out to the audience. Thank you so much for attending and participating. This was a new thing for us, and we hope that it was informative and useful. And if so, we can definitely keep it up for next year. And this webinar will be archived on the Quasi website along with the slides. And so for more information, please look at the Hydrology Section website. We have a page, H3S has a page there. And follow us on Twitter at AGU_H3S. And if there aren't any other questions, we look forward to seeing you this year in Washington, D.C. So thank you.
And thank you, Kaylyn.
Thanks,
Yep,
Kaylyn.
thank you, Kaylyn.